listening to the Flickcast, a podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and joining me, of course, my esteemed co-host, Joe Dilworth. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
You're back to being esteemed again.
I am steamed.
Don't.
Because I've been blocked by people.
Mighty steamed. Yeah, that's right. You're blocked on Twitter, which still exists for the moment. That's good.
yeah, it's still there,
still there, kids, if you're on the Twitters. But we've also moved to Mastodon, which is another thing. So,
yes.
So you can find the Flickcast at the Mastodon, too, if you want to. And Joe and I are over there, too. Just, trying alternatives. But I don't think I'll give up on Twitter just yet. So.
Nah, it's too fun. I will say Mastodon is kind of pleasantly quiet. There's not a lot of...
well, now you're going to ruin it, because...
rage and idiocy, which will happen, I'm sure, this week.
I haven't seen any real rage or idiocy, I don't think. I think it comes down...
I mean, I'm on there now, so...
Well, then the idiocy quotient is covered.
Yes, totally.
I should say fulfilled. Filled is the word I should know. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm actually getting some decent engagement with... I'll speak like a social media person. I'm getting some decent engagement over there with people that I wouldn't necessarily have talked to or been able to talk to, because they don't have 10,000 people following them. It's only like 100 people. And so they're like, oh, this guy said something, I should say something back. And then I think people are making an effort to communicate, which is nice. So anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
I find it fascinating to be... I was on Twitter at the beginning, and so now... people complaining about how Mastodon's complicated. I'm like, you don't remember what Twitter was like. Twitter was terrible when it first started. It was.
You're right. I am one of those that complained about how difficult and complicated Mastodon was. But you're right. Twitter was like, okay, so now what do I do?
Well, there was like fail whale left and right.
Yes.
I did download my Twitter archive, which I encourge all of you to do if you're on Twitter. And I found out
you have to request that though, and I still haven't.
You do. It takes like 24 hours. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are requesting it. My first tweet was, hungry, need food. That was my first tweet.
Oh, now see, I'm curious about what.
From March 2007. That was my first tweet.
I didn't join until 2008, I believe.
Wow, 2000 late. Hello.
Well, actually, I think I joined both Facebook and Twitter in 2008 when I started up the website.
Oh, sure.
Back in the day, because I was like, whoa, I got to promote it on those things. I think originally I was like, I'm not going to join those. But then I was like, wow.
Totes.
For the good of the website, I will.
I remember when Facebook, you had to have like a college email to join Facebook. That's how far back I go with Facebook.
Wow, check you out.
I know, it's crazy. But yeah, I joined Twitter because I was at South by Southwest and people were like talking about the Twitters. I was at some event for South by and they're like, yeah, we got this thing going called Twitter. I'm like, what is that? And so the guy was trying to explain it to me. There may have been alcohol involved. In fact, I'm sure there was.
I'm sure there was.
It's South by Southwest, of course. And
yes, of course.
Then I'm like, okay, I'll just join. And so I did. And I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Why?
I mean, if nothing else gets you to join Mastodon,
it's the alcohol.
I think the fact that instead of making a tweet, you make a toot.
No one calls it toots anymore.
Well, they do. They're like, oh, it's your first toot.
First toot. I remember my first toot. Yeah. See, that can go a lot of ways. That could be like a fart, or it could be. I mean, a toot used to be, I think, referred to like cocaine too, right? I mean, I don't remember.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, so it could be a lot of things. You can have a lot of first toots.
You could, or bump. You need a bump on Mastodon. So I don't know. Anyway, I wouldn't know anything about that. So anyway, we talked about Andor a lot last week, so we're gonna revisit Andor this week.
Yes.
Episode 10. A fantastic episode of television, or whatever you want to call it, but a fantastic show. We're going to talk about Enola Holmes' Dose, right? Why am I calling it Dose? I don't know.
I don't know.
Another great entry in the Enola Holmes saga. Let's put it that way.
Hopefully, it's the second of many.
Yes, the second of many. I'm also we'll talk about it when we talk about it, and then I think we'll. Get into maybe some John Wick for a second because the new trailer for that dropped out, and then we got picks today, so that'll be fun. Do you want to start with? Yeah. Should we just start with John Wick since that's probably going to be shorter?
Yeah, let's talk about that first.
Okay, I should say that I really like the John Wick franchise. I'm not into hyper violence because I'm not a teenager anymore. But I don't have anything against it. It certainly is very violent, but there's something about it that also, I think, because John Wick is such a tragic character, and is like. And it's Keanu Reeves, so you can't really not
Well, yeah.
You can't help but sympathize with him and be empathetic to his situation and just his life in general. That comes across. He's gotten, it's funny to think about Keanu Reeves. He's gotten to be so much more. I mean, he was always probably talented, but he's just so much better now for some reason. He aged into acting really well, I think.
He did,
and
yes.
And it's just I think the problem with him is that he was maybe too youthful for some of the roles he was taking, and he wasn't, and maybe he didn't really take himself seriously enough. I don't know. I don't know what the problem was. It's just he's gotten a lot better, and so his choice of roles has gotten a lot better. And these John Wick movies are just terrific. And this one looks bonkers, which I'm totally in for. So, what do you think?
I agree. I think for Keanu Reeves, I think, yeah, maybe it was youthful. I think he actually took the time to study his craft and learn. I think one of the things that kind of went against him early on was I think he kept getting cast for the same types of roles, and the directors that cast him didn't necessarily push him to really go above what he was doing. But I think once he started getting, I keep saying I think, once he started getting meteor roles, he definitely rose to the occasion and did well. Yeah. And he's just an amazing actor and really great.
Seems to be a great person too.
And the John Wick movies, you're right. I'm not huge either into hyper-violent movies. In fact, I really kind of avoid those. But there's just something about the John Wick movies that what I like is that, I mean, the first one, despite the fact that it's like after he's retired and stuff, it's basically an origin movie. You really get to understand who the character is and what he stands for. And it's just like him getting back into the game. And each sequel is up the ante. And so now he's like taking on, the high table and all that. It's like, yeah.
One thing that's cool about these movies too is the world building, because you totally believe that this
exactly world, that's what I'm saying. It just really expands out in a natural way each sequel and really gets you. It's like, wow, so there's this whole thing that people don't know about out there. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's clever. It's really clever. And if you think about the first one, it's a pretty well contained story. It's like, the punks want the car. Punks, break in to steal the car and kill his dog, which is his only connection to humanity. And and then he's like, I guess I've got to break out of retirement now and kill a bunch of people because that's not cool. He's like, why did you wake the Baba Yaga? That was really stupid. And so you're going to be the bait to kill Baba Yaga. And now you find out how he got out of the life, and you find out where he came from, and you find out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's this whole thing. And then this one, if it's the final chapter, I wonder.
I don't think it is.
I wonder.
Because they're talking about developing the fifth one.
We're already doing they're also doing a spin-off series too.
Yeah.
The Ballerina, which apparently.
And a prequel series about the Continental too on Starz.
Yeah.
Or Paramount now, I guess, but
whatever it's called. Anyway, it's spanning a whole franchise of things, and that's great.
Yeah.
And and Keanu can still, as long as he can still do this kind of stuff. I mean, it's pretty physically demanding, and I'm surprised he hasn't broken anything. It's pretty impressive. So, because he does a lot. He does a lot of stuff himself.
Well, and the other thing, exactly. And the other thing I really like about this is the folks that show up in various roles. I mean, there's some high caliber.
Yeah.
This isn't like, let's find a bunch of hungry actors and we can build this world with them. It's some high caliber people that are in key roles in the franchise.
Definitely.
And that's really cool.
Dude, this number 4, it's got Keanu, of course, Donnie Yen, which is terrific. Yes. Anything that Donnie Yen is, I'm down. And Bill Skarsgård, too, who also is in my pick from a couple weeks ago, Barbarian, playing a good guy this time, oddly enough. Ian McShane, of course, terrific. Hiyuki Sanada, also terrific. Amazing.
Yeah.
Lance Reddick, Lawrence Fishburne. I think he and Keanu Reeves worked on a movie together once. I can't remember what it was.
They did. I think maybe more than one.
2 or 3 things, or whatever. But yeah, it's like, you're right. They just really, really have a great cast and a really.
Halle Berry was in one.
Yeah, I wonder if she comes back. She lives. Did she survive the third one? I can't remember.
She did survive.
Yeah, she should come back with her dogs.
Bridget Monahan gets to be in flashbacks as his girlfriend. It's
yes.
I don't know.
So yeah,
it's just a great movie. It's a great franchise, and it's a lot of fun. Yeah. And like I said, even my wife, who's not into, because there's some movies that I watch that are borderline pretty violent, and she's like, I don't really care to see that. and she won't watch them. But John Wick, she's like, when's the next one coming out? Because it's Keanu, right?
Yeah.
Like we said.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Keanu, he's definitely having a big career even at his age, which is pretty cool. I mean, I guess it's it's lucky that he's a good actor and everything. I'm trying to think of what movie maybe he I'm trying to think what he broke out. Maybe it was Speed. I think Speed was like the first thing I was like, oh, he's pretty good.
Yeah, that's one where he started.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah. So anyway, but Clancy Brown, of course, in John Wick 4.
Scott right.
Adkins.
Yes.
So anyway, there's a lot of people.
See?
It's going to be fun. The trailer is crazy, and it's just going to be it's going to be cool. And I think you're right. I think there will be a fifth film.
Well, they were going to shoot 4 and 5 back to back, but because of COVID and some other scheduling, they're not doing that. But they're already developing the fifth one, and I don't see any reason why number 4 won't do well enough to justify a sequel.
Dude, and I'm totally down for Ballerina with Ana de Armas as well. That's going to be awesome.
I know.
And Keanu, directed by Len Wiseman, which I'm not 100% thrilled with, but that's fine.
I like the stylistic choices in this franchise too, like the switchboard where they do the hits.
Yeah,
is like these older women that are made up to look like 1950s telephone operators, but they're all tatted up, and it's just I don't know. It's one of those perfect storms of really really good story, great actors, and it looks amazing, and it just it keeps upping the ante. So they can't really do. I mean, it's basically going to be John Wick versus the world by the 8th one. He's just going around like everybody on the planet.
Well, this one looks pretty international. I mean, he's in Japan. He's in whatever.
That's true.
The high tables all over the place. But I'm not 100% sure why Len Wiseman keeps getting jobs, but that's fine. I'm not trying to be a dick about it. But I mean, Underworld is a cool movie. I enjoyed that. Live Free or Die Hard's not bad. But I guess he can do action. I don't know. Maybe these movies are kind of director proof now. It's like the stunt team that kind of runs things. So
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe. Whatever. I mean, whatever. I'll give it a chance, obviously. But Ana de Armas this is the movie that she should have gotten. The character that she's supposed to play in Bond, right? So it's like expanded.
Right. Exactly.
So I think they should hang a whole franchise on her. To be honest, I think that'd be awesome.
Well, and Ian McShane's character is going to be in it, and Keanu's apparently going to make a cameo. I mean, of course, you would have him.
Well, then I guess that
kind of handoff.
That begs the question: will she appear in John Wick 4?
Right. Hopefully,
so they can introduce her character and then say and spin her off to whatever. I mean, you kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
So anyway,
exactly.
But anybody who watched the last James Bond movie and didn't want to put her in an action movie was probably dumb. It's like that she should definitely be that character or a similar character in a franchise, because that would totally be great. And she was great in the Bond film. And I think many people would agree that she didn't have enough screen time. So
what confuses me is the people making the John Wick movie have talked about. I don't see how this would happen, but everyone is like, oh, there should be a John Wick Atomic Blonde team up. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that would be a great movie, but how do you make that happen? Because Atomic Blonde takes place in the 80s. So how do you do
this?
That?
This is their
multiverse.
This is their multiverse. Yeah, exactly. No, this is their answer to that question. They're going to start a new franchise because let's be honest, Keanu's in his mid-50s, so it's not like he can roll around on the ground and be John Wick forever. So they're smart to try to start a new franchise, and why not?
Well, I get that, but you can't. I mean, Atomic Blonde was a great movie, and I hope we get the sequel to that. But again, how do you have those two characters team up in a movie, because they take place like 40 years apart?
I don't know. Well, I don't know. That's a good question.
See?
That is a good question. Will they make a sequel? Will they make a sequel to Atomic Blonde?
They keep saying they're going to make a sequel to Atomic Blonde, but one hasn't. I think it did pretty well at the box office, and everybody liked it. So I'm not sure why they haven't.
I'm sure it's just Charlize Theron's
she's a little busy
schedule. Yeah. But she's not in Furiosa, because that's what's her face. So
true. Yeah.
They're actually I guess
which I'm a little annoyed by. But.
Well, it's a prequel. It's
young, but I wish they would have done
young Furiosa.
It's like, well, we're going to save money by doing a prequel and not paying for.
Well, maybe she wasn't interested in going back to the desert either, because I'm pretty sure that was a traumatic experience. Although Tom Hardy, they both have since sort of realized that they were both having problems, and it actually made sense in a way for their characters. They were supposed to be antagonistic during the film.
It worked,
but it was probably not a very fun filming environment. Anyway,
a couple of years ago they announced that Atomic Blonde 2 was in development as a Netflix.
Well, so was Old Guard 2, right?
That they're actually filming though.
Okay, well, you know what, Charlize can certainly do another Atomic Blonde. Maybe she doesn't want to. I mean, maybe she's tired of it. I mean, who knows?
I mean, I guess she has no lack of action movies to star in, which is fantastic, and she's awesome at it. But I like that movie, and I like that.
Yeah, I liked it too. You could absolutely get them in the same movie. It would have to be maybe a period piece, but then you'd have to DH Keanu, right? So that'd be hard.
But 40 years ago, he'd have been 10 in the 80s.
But also deadly.
He's baby Baba Yaga.
Baba Yaga, baby. Oh, it's like Baby Yoda.
Baby Yaga.
Baby Yaga. Oh, that's good. I like that. There you go. Baby Yaga.
They de-age him and tone him down so he looks 10.
They de-age him till he's 10, and then they give him a pencil. A fucking pencil. And then he kills a bunch of people, right? And there you go.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
It writes itself.
It does. Yeah, because Atomic Blonde is Cold War, right?
Yeah, okay, exactly. I'm serious. It takes place in the 80s.
Yeah, I only watched it once, and I haven't watched it since then. So, I think though, if you ever ask any,
I guess it's 89.
If you ever ask any director of any movie, it's like, yeah, we're talking about a sequel. Of course, they're talking about a sequel. They always want to make more movies.
Well, yeah.
Yes, like, I'm talking with myself about a sequel. I talk to myself in the mirror about it all the time.
Is that what's the line that I took a 2-day film course, and the only thing I learned from it is
several projects in various stages of development. Yeah.
Yep. Always say that because then it sounds like you're busy and you're wanted.
Wait, you took a 2-day film course? Was it the Dov Simmons film course?
It was. Wow. I did in Washington D.C. I did.
That's funny.
Back in the 80s, actually early 90s.
Several projects in various stages of development.
That was the only thing I got out of that, because the whole time, and I paid it was a pretty good amount of money for it.
Yeah.
Plus going to D.C. from North Carolina and staying.
And what did you learn? You learned about so basically you learned about bullshitting.
I did.
So you'll fit right in Hollywood then.
Because the funny thing was about 2 or 3 hours into the first day, I was like, this guy's full of shit, and that's all he's going to teach is marketing and bullshitting your way. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, yeah, it was. I mean, he's making good money, I guess, but or he did, and it was not worth it. So,
well, I do know that there's probably stories of people who took the class and it meant something to them, and they learned how to make a film because of it.
Sure.
I mean, there has to be some success, right? But
I mean, he did give you a nice binder that had blank scheduling thing. I mean, He gave you all the materials to make a movie, but it's like,
and the question is, why aren't you doing a 2-day film school? That's what I want to know.
Right, exactly.
You probably know as much about it as he does.
Exactly. So it was like, wow. Wait. So now I see why. And there were people in the class that were like, oh yeah, this is great.
Why am I not doing a 2-day film school? I know more about filmmaking than Dov Simmons probably.
Right. Why we should do the Flickcast 2-day film school.
Here's the thing, kids. Try not to use your own money, and
yes,
and have a self-contained script, like something that takes place in one place. There you go. Problem solved.
Don't create the Twilight Saga in your first movie.
Well, yeah,
it's the same thing with writing novels. Every time I see like someone's first novel and it's like book 1 in the such and such chronicles, sure. I'm like, I'm not going to read that because what? No. Yeah, you don't start out with that.
If you want to do a movie on the cheap, get a bunch of people in a house and just kill them off one by one, or do something like something scary, because horror is a great thing that translates to all markets. Because you don't have to worry about dialogue. Don't do a comedy if you don't want to. Don't do a drama because that requires translations. You want to do like a monster thing, but don't do something with a ghost because that doesn't play in China.
Yes, and if you're that far along into being able to make a film, guaranteed either you or someone that will happily do any of the special effects for you, because horror special effects are really, I won't say easy to do, but they're a lot of fun to do, and you have a friend who will be like, dude, you can pay me like nothing and I'll totally do it for a movie.
Yeah, and maybe you don't even need that. Maybe you just need.
Well, it's true.
I keep talking about that.
Psychological.
I keep talking about that movie
yes.
Barbarian because that was a real self-contained story. I mean, it had a budget,
Right.
obviously, but you could have done that for less, and you could have cut things to make it even more compact and more streamlined. But it basically takes place in one house for the most part. And so whether it was a set, I mean, part of it could have been a set because I don't think those tunnels were probably, they didn't, those aren't practical. But so yeah, that's what you need. You need like a self-contained horror film or something like that just can be done, in one room or a series of rooms. That's why you see a lot of movies where like people go to try to stay in the haunted house overnight kind of thing. It's like,
yes,
because it's all in one place.
Yep.
So, anyway, that's my advice.
Every film franchise that's not based on a book series, but every film franchise, if you look at the first movie, it's a self-contained movie. Yeah. And that's how they started it. And it only turned into a franchise because it's like, hey, this made a lot of money. We should do more of these. So...
Unless you're George Lucas and love cars, and then you can do a movie where people just drive around in cars all the time. But look at his first movie. Look at THX. Yeah. It's basically in one place, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's in the San Francisco Metro.
Film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, exactly.
If you're trying to, or Spielberg's first movie was, World War II epic in the backyard with his friends,
And I will still maintain this, even though people are like, we have documentation. I swear to you, the first Star Wars movie was just meant to be a really good movie. And sure, he had ideas of where the story could go. I have no doubt on that. But if it had only had a modest success, that would have been it, and we would have been like, man, that Star Wars movie is still awesome.
Well, you would have read Splinter of the Mind's Eye and went, wow, this is a great sequel, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's like because back in the day, in that time, there wasn't franchises didn't exist. There wasn't sequels, there wasn't anything. Right. It's like Ghostbusters. People made, Harold Ramis was like, we made a fucking great movie. One and done. You weren't thinking about a franchise. We weren't thinking about Ghostbusters 2 or 3 or new Ghostbusters or new Coke or whatever. It's just we made a really good movie and that's it. And they didn't really consider that there was going to be more. People didn't make a lot of sequels. I mean, Godfather was like a sequel, Godfather 2, right? But the sequels were usually considered lesser than. They didn't ever surpass the original.
Exactly,
for sure.
Exactly.
It was a cheap grab for cash. Like, we're going to make another one for less money to cash in. And so the franchise thing didn't exist, and then now it does. Now everybody's thinking of franchise. So anyway.
They are, but still, I would say make your first movie as a one and done, even if you have ideas, and leave the door open, as they say. But don't go into it going, this is the first movie of 6. No,
it's my first trilogy.
Yeah, make a really solid, good one and done movie.
Yeah, definitely. Keep it simple, keep it tight, keep it contained. Few speaking parts as possible. No kids or animals.
No, don't work with kids.
I hate to say it, it's nothing against kids or animals, but they take time. You only have so much time on set, so.
Well, no, see, that's the other thing too, because some folks have talked about that recently, and they're like, I know everyone says don't work with kids and animals because they're difficult, but the reality of it is they'll also upstage you. So you don't want a kid or an animal or a cute robot to upstage your main
a cute robot's probably okay, but...
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, the nice thing is, if you live in any large town, there's going to be people who want to make movies. And so you can find crew and you can find actors. Everyone wants to act. Everyone thinks they can. So you just got to find those people. And, my feeling is that if you're going to make a small film, you should try to pay everybody, even if it's nothing, hardly.
Pay them something.
And not just food. Copy credit. Meals. That's the thing that used to be the joke on, in Los Angeles. Right. You get a copy of the movie and you get, credit. I'm doing it for the credit.
Yes.
I hate to say it, but credit does make a difference because if you have some credits, then you can actually get a legitimate job. But now I kind of feel like, with today's production ability, you could shoot a movie on a freaking iPhone if you wanted to. You could probably afford, to pay people, even if it's like $50 a day or something. You just pay them to, to do their jobs. And I don't know. I feel like you should. The last movie I made was not a huge budget, but we paid everybody and and everything. It's just
pay your people.
Pay your people. It's okay to have interns, I suppose, but they should be like real interns. Anyway, we don't have to get into this deeply. We could do a whole episode about how to make a movie, I suppose, but I do have all kinds of useless knowledge. So
there you go. When you hear about like a Robert Rodriguez or something like, oh, they made their first movie and maxed out their credit cards. Most likely, they used a lot of that money to pay their people. So do that.
Yeah, I'm sure the people on Rodriguez's first movie got paid. Absolutely, you know.
Yep. So anyway,
John Wick 4 looks super great. Let's go on to Andor, shall we?
Yes.
One Way Out.
Well, that was I just have to say that was not just. I know everyone's like, oh, it's an amazing TV show, but that was like just an amazing 45 minutes of entertainment of anything filmed. That was just, that Gilroy guy knows how to make some stuff. I know he didn't direct it, but still.
Yeah, it's well done. Beau Willimon was the writer of that episode, who has some experience with writing shows. But I mean, Circus and Stellan Skarsgård both giving like acting clinics on the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially both of them. I mean, Circus had the bigger, sort of showier kind of speech, but Stellan Skarsgård, man, it's like, what if I sacrificed everything? I'm like, damn, he's good.
That should be award winning right there. Because
he was good.
I mean, I know a writer had to write that, but his delivery was just like, man, you felt that and believed it. It was like, holy cow.
I think, that's why that's why casting is super important, right? You try to get somebody who can convey the message. I mean, the words are important. Don't get me wrong, but they just let the camera go. It wasn't any fancy camera work. There wasn't any fancy anything. Just let it roll, baby. And he just fucking like, this is how you do this. And
exactly,
he was terrific. And Andy Serkis is terrific too. Again, a oneer on him. Just do it. You know?
Yeah, just let him
do it. Yeah.
He did.
I mean, I don't know what take that was. It could have been take 50 for all I know, but it probably wasn't. But let's not shortchange Diego Luna too. He's amazing. Is great in the show too. They're all, I don't think
everybody is.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody bad. There's nobody really that's, and we've talked about this.
There's no weak parts that pull me out of the story or make me go, what?
But this, like you said, this is not just a great Star Wars show or a great, whatever. It's like the whole thing has gravitas, and the thing is, you care about these characters because they spent time to develop them. That's what you don't get in a lot of shows. You don't get a lot of development. You care about whether they survive. And the fucking twist at the end was like gut wrenching. You're like, man, I feel for this. You feel for that guy. And I'm not going to spoil it, but you feel for Kino. And it's interesting to bookend that a little bit. Not bookend, but it's interesting to compare that to Stellan Skarsgård's character. They both are very similar in that way because they're both fighting for something that they'll never see, right?
Right. Well, because Serkis's character had to know the only way they were getting out of there was to swim.
Well, now you just spoiled it. Great. Good job.
Well, spoilers.
You can't swim.
And then he can't swim. So he did all that to save everybody else.
Well, you never see a body, so maybe he survives. I guess we'll never.
Oh, exactly. Even Gilroy in an interview was being cute about that. And they're like, wait, and they're like, oh, his sacrifice, and he's like, hold on, we didn't see him die, right? You didn't, so he could come back next season or this season for all we know, but
he could.
But just Serkis is a really good actor.
Yeah, they should definitely get him out of the mocap suit more often. I think he's proving that he can actually act and not just as an ape or whatever. Not that that's easy, by the way. But
no,
he did. And what a great way to sort of, I don't want to introduce him, but like say, here's what Andy Serkis can actually do, folks. He played Snoke, which I thought he did a good job doing Snoke, but in a mocap suit. But then it's like, oh, this guy can actually act. He's really, he's really good. Yeah, what a great role for him, and and he did an excellent performance. But everybody is just.
Even the person, I guess spoiling it, but the mole, he even acted extremely well.
This sniveling 70s mustache mole. I love him. Yeah,
exactly. What I like too is, everyone's like, oh, the Empire is this, evil empire that, everybody is cannon fodder and they just want to meet their ends and by any means necessary. And it's like, well, it turns out the rebels are kind of that way too.
Yeah.
Because, Stellan Skarsgård character is like, I'll sacrifice 50 guys, no problem. I'm not going to tell them. They're going to go into a trap and it's going to get us where we want to go.
Right.
Just like he's not taking credit at all for the heist and trying to build up other people with that, or put a target on them.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I don't know, the whole the whole intrigue and politics and spy aspect to this is just amazing.
Yeah.
And really well written. So yeah, just well done all around.
Yeah. It really is. And also I don't want to shortchange Genevieve O'Reilly too, because that whole scene with her and the mobster who's going to give her the money, like she's really, because that's also excellent acting, because she is not allowed to have outbursts. Right. She's, when Davo comes to say, I'd like to marry your daughter to my son, basically, she's like, I'm gonna fucking murder some dudes right now.
Yeah, the look on her face and her acting during that.
Fuck the patriarchy. That's what she's saying.
Yeah,
and she's just she's terrific, and in a non-showy role, which is not always easy to pull off, but you can see the conflict, and you can see this is someone who has to wear a mask, right, all the time. And so it's like the mask is starting to crack a little bit, which is interesting. And obviously at some point she's going to have to fuck off and join the rebels and not be,
Well, at some point she either sacrifices her family or leaves them. I mean, we don't see them in her roles in the movies, not to say that anything untoward happened to them, but she's, in my opinion, she's got to be separated from them at some point. So how that plays out is going to be tragic. I don't know. It's showing you the sacrifice of rebellion. It's not all fun and games, kids. Mm-hmm. And Rogue One, did a lot of that as well. And this is carrying the themes of that. It's not this, plucky band of let's go get them, guys, like we saw in the movies. Mm-hmm. It's, to get to get to that point, a lot of really bad things happened and a lot of people had to sacrifice. But man, I keep thinking about Skarsgård's speech. It's like, I'll never be recognized for any of this.
Right.
And was it like a 15 years ago I did an equation it's just like, geez. It was like, man.
Well, yeah,
he's horrified by it. That's the other thing too. You can tell.
Well, he's horrified by what he's had to become to destroy the Empire. Yeah. I've had to use the tools of my enemy. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, is all of that was, I want you to know that, I'm going to sacrifice these guys and me basically to keep you where you are. So don't fuck it up, basically. So it's like, geez. Yeah. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it really was. I'll be interested to see if they do anything with Kino again, because again, like you said, they don't see a body, and I do that interview with Tony Gilroy. He's like pushing back on the idea that Kino's dead.
Right.
So that's cool. I would love to see more with him, and I hope Tony Gilroy will get to do more Star Wars. But I think one of the things I like so much about this show is that it's a Star Wars show with very little Star Wars in it. If that makes sense. There's we talked about this before. There's no space wizards. There's no Jedi. They don't even talk about any of that shit. It's like, I like these kind of spy sort of intrigue shows. The beginning of the Empire. And it also ticks a lot of boxes right now because of the things that are going on in the world too, with people being oppressed and everything, and the fact that the Empire is just basically, we don't care about. They're making widgets. It doesn't matter what they're making. Who cares?
Right, exactly.
They're just more cogs in the machine. We'll fry 100 dudes. We don't care. They just don't give a shit, and that's what sparks this rebellion. One of the things that sparks the rebellion. But Luthen is just vicious. Really, he's like, I will sacrifice people. I don't care. The ends justify the means, kind of thing. And he knows that he's basically got to do all these things because that's the only way it's going to get done. And he also knows like he will never, ever get to enjoy the fruits of his labor ever. Because there's only one way out for guys like us, like Tony Soprano says, right? It's like, he's going to die.
Well, and that's kind of the other, message there is he is the kind of person that you want there because that's the only way that'll get done. Because if you have someone that is like, well, no, we're going to protect all our people, then you're pretty much, your rebellion's done. You might as well go home and join up because it's not going to happen. And that's not pleasant, but it's like, yeah, you know what? He has a point.
Well, yeah, it's
Like, wow.
You got to feel like this is getting towards, and I'm sure they'll get into this more as the season goes on and the next season, that they're at the absolute lowest point of the rebellion, right?
Yeah.
Because the Death Star is being built. And I don't know if they're building parts of the Death Star, if they're building X-Wing or I'm sorry, TIE fighters or whatever the fuck they're building. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just it's funny that the machine parts and the people are basically the same in the Empire's eyes almost, right? Because that's one of the metaphors they're going for. They're all the same. Like the parts are all the same, the people are all the same because they're all dressed the same, and they're just like Kino says that they don't care about them because they don't. They just shuffle them off to something else.
Yeah.
But the idea is that this is the start of the rebellion, but they have to. At some point, it's just going to get worse and worse until finally, what happens with Rogue One, and then the Battle of Yavin and everything, and that turns it around. But it's like they gotta. But even destroying the Death Star didn't destroy the Empire,
No, it didn't. Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's
not until Death Star
Syrians.
Not until Death Star Part 2.
Part dos.
Yeah.
I do like the the kind of juxtaposition of Luthen saying that. It's like, yeah, we'll sacrifice 50, 100 because we're trying to get to where we need to and get this defeated.
Well, he won't give up his guy. He won't give up. He spent too much time getting the spy, and he's not going to sacrifice the spy because he's right. If they do something, they will know there's a leak, and so he can't take that chance. The spy is more important to them. So,
but I like that against you have Cyril Karn, who's like, 2 guys got killed. I don't know them. I don't probably even know their names, but these 2 guys got killed, and I want justice. I want the person that killed them. So it's like 2 guys that he is like trying to find justice for, and Luthen is like, 50 guys, let's do it because we got to get to where we got to keep you in there, and probably doesn't even personally care about that guy. Is only what he can provide, and as soon as he becomes a liability, it's like, well, cut him off too. So I like the little and. Cyril is the Empire and Luthen is the Rebellion. And it's like, so, maybe the rebels aren't as lily white as everyone thought, right? So I like
Well, no, they're not.
The kind of juxtaposition there. Yeah. It's really interesting. And it's like, this is what war is like, folks.
Well,
this is what rebellion is like.
That's what we're talking about, too. We talked about this before with Saw Gerrera, too. It's like every all these movements have their true believers, their fanatics, right? So, I mean, is Cassian like that? I mean, I don't know if he gets that radicalized, but he does have no problem like murdering dudes, and because even when that guard was like still alive, he like just didn't even look back. He just blasted him without even looking, just to finish him off. So it's like, but I guess the real question is that maybe they'll be pondering in this show is like, do you need to become like your enemy in order to defeat them? I mean, Luthen seems to think so, and Saw. I keep calling him Saul, but it's Saw. He obviously thinks so too, maybe, or maybe he's more honorable than we think, because we've never really seen anything to indicate that he will sacrifice people.
Right.
In fact, he seems more protective of his people, than Luthen is. So maybe Luthen is he's just too extreme for the rebellion. I don't know. Maybe that's why Mon Mothma ends up running things because she's not as extreme. But I don't know. It's an interesting character study because maybe the rebellion at the beginning needs people like Luthen, but maybe over the long term, it's not sustainable for them because you don't want to be that way. Otherwise, you're just like the Empire. So anyway, I'm just shocked that we're talking about a Star Wars show now in this day. Still, it just still amazes me. We're still getting. And the quality is up and down. I mean, Mandalorian is awesome. I'm looking forward to season 3 a lot. But this, I think now, even is topping Mandalorian for me as a show that I think is just better. So,
I think Andor is the Star Wars show for those of us that were, first saw Star Wars back in '77, and we were all kids then. And this is Star Wars that has matured like we have, and grown up like we have. Yeah. So it's like, hey, here's for you. And I know everyone's like, oh, Star Wars should be for everyone. It should be for kids. And it's like, I don't agree with that because much like with Star Trek, I think Lucas has created such a interesting and intricate world that you could tell any kind of, Mandalorians kind of show that. It's a Western, right? It's a man with no name done in Star Wars. Obi-Wan is a different tone.
It's Lone Wolf and Cub in Star Wars, but yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So you can do different tones and tell different stories.
Yeah.
I mean, they did the anime series. You can do any kind of story you want to within the Star Wars framework,
Yeah.
and it'll work. Same thing with Star Trek. It doesn't have to be just 7 people on a ship going around the galaxy. It can be
Yeah,
a lot of
but that
different
works
things.
really well too, apparently, if you want it.
It does, and same thing with Star Wars. I mean, Skywalker works well, but I want to see what I want to see is like, let's say you've created this very rich, expansive world. Let's explore it. What are the politics in this world? What is comedy in this world? I don't know, whatever. Let's explore it. We don't have to tell the same story over and over again.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. It's interesting because I feel like they can do that. I think Disney's in a good position where they can do these kinds of stories on Disney Plus.
yeah,
Because they don't have to necessarily appeal to as broad an audience as a film does. Because you have to,
Right.
a film is much more expensive usually, and it has to open bigger, and that could be more for kids because you want to get all the people in the seats as much as you can. So maybe the plan is let's do these more serious, more mature things for Disney Plus, and not skimp on the cost, obviously, because Andor is obviously not cheap.
well, yeah,
But let's do Star Wars movies to appeal to a more broader audience, and maybe to bring in new people too, because you can still satisfy us old folks who complain about new Star Wars, everyone's a Jedi now or whatever. I mean, not that I was even doing that, but and you can have those broader appeal things to bring in new people and everything, and then you can do these shows like Andor for people who love the original franchise. But I was talking about this the other day with somebody. It's like, this is the show to me that most closely evokes the original, like you said too, like the original sort of aesthetic of Star Wars. Like everything's run down, everything's it's like the universe is well used, and then that contrasts really, really well to the lily white perfection of the Empire, and their perfectly pressed uniforms and jackboots and all that. But it's just, and these guys, give them more shows to do, because this is just such a good show. Even if it's not tied to the Star Wars universe, it's still an excellently written and performed and directed, and just
Yet it informs everything we know about Star Wars going forward after that, which I like.
Does.
I mean, there's nothing you could have never seen any Star Wars at all and come into this and go, wow, this is really interesting.
In fact, you could watch this and then watch Rogue One and then watch Star Wars. I think that would
and then it's like, oh, you want to know more about this? Well, what did this rebellion lead to? Well, it turns out we've got all these movies for you to watch.
Well, not just that, but why are these guys rebelling? Why is there a rebellion at all? Maybe the Empire's not so bad. No, they are terrible. And look.
Yes.
Exactly. I read something about, it's like, maybe Darth Vader should appear in Andor, and I was like, I don't know, man.
No, I don't think so.
Because I think you're getting it across where to see how bad. I think the Empire is evil, but one of their biggest sins, I think, is just indifference. Right? It's like, we don't really care enough about you. I mean, even Andor or Cassian says, he's like, they're so healthy. I shouldn't do an accent. I apologize.
No,
they're so fat and happy. They couldn't possibly imagine someone like me. It's like,
right.
They're so full of themselves and indifferent to people. They just step on you and they don't give a shit, which is why all these guys, and they'll just fry 100 people. They don't care because they literally don't give a shit. And so
maybe that's the point of Cyril, not that he'll join the rebellion, but that it's like, hey, there are people in the Empire that care, but here's how we work that out of them.
Well, Cyril's an interesting case because he, like you said, he cares about those 2 guys that got killed, and no one. I'm sure that no one else knows who they are or gives a crap who they were. They weren't even Empire. Right. They were like security guys. No one cares, and so. Right. And Dedra's like, you're wasting my time. She cares about time. She doesn't care about, and she cares about her own career, obviously. But she only cares about people who can do something for her. And so once Cyril has outlived his usefulness, she doesn't care about him either. And so you're right. Maybe he is. I've really been thinking about this more. Maybe he will end up in the rebellion because he'll realize that the Empire is not something to be revered. It's terrible, and it's just it's impartial, and he does care about things, and he cares about order, but they don't have order, they have disorder. But the rebellion is more about restoring. I don't know. He's interesting.
I think he's in it for the whole series, and I think
he's in the show. Yeah, he's a main character. He's in the show forever, so it's like there's a reason for him to be here, and for Dedra to be here too.
Yes. So
I'm sure there's people who are like, oh, they should get together. I'm sure people are shipping that group. But anyway.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think I think that would be like weird. I don't think
you just
I
know
don't
she's
see
got
Gilroy
she's
going
got
that
some
way,
kind of
but-
sex swing in her home, and she's tying Cyril to it or something.
Yes,
Don't waste my time. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, I still think he's going to end up somehow either in the rebellion or aiding them at a key moment, because he's like, wow, the Empire really doesn't care, and here's people fighting against that.
Yeah, but it has to happen with him in a confrontation with Cassian. There has to be there's closure for that, and at some point they will meet up again, and that will be the linchpin or whatever. If he's going to pivot to the rebellion, then that will be what does it.
Right.
Because they're setting up this whole thing where he's pursuing Cassian, who he blames for everything in his life. Basically, he's blames for his entire life going to shit. But either he'll find out that that's not true, or it's the Empire that's the problem, or he'll just end up cannon fodder in the final episode. I don't know,
but yeah, I agree. There has to be at some point a confrontation between the two, and it has to be a pivotal conversation or confrontation that makes things click for both those characters, I think. I mean, maybe I've seen too many movies and TV shows, and that's not where they're heading at all. But it just seems like there's too much.
I mean, there's no reason to have
setup.
there's no reason to have a character like that. I mean, if you think about it too, he's kind of like a counterpoint to Luthen a little bit too. Luthen believes in everything for the rebellion, and he believes in everything for the Empire. That the Empire's all good, and not even as much as Daedra.
Right.
Daedra's in it for different reasons, but he's like a true believer, fanatic on the Empire side. So.
Right.
Anyway, I like the fact that they have this sort of juxtaposition of characters and sort of like the yin and yang of all these characters. But yeah, I mean they don't have him in the show for no reason. If we've learned anything about this series, it's that everyone has an arc. Even Andy Serkis's character had quite an arc, only in a few episodes. I mean, he realized he became a rebel in a couple of episodes too, and Cassian's getting more radicalized too. I would rather die than give them what they want. I mean, that's the first time he's really said that.
Yes, exactly.
And unfortunately, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy for him. But spoiler.
Well, and we know that Melshi will be around for a while.
Yeah, he's in Rogue One. Yeah, good for him, man. That was cool.
Yeah,
but
I was like, oh, so now we see how they're kind of how they bonded,
and they're running to the twin sons or whatever at the end. So.
Yeah, exactly.
On a beach. I don't know. Never go to the beach, Cassian. Beaches are bad for you.
No. He needs to stay away from those. He does. Any planet that has a beach, don't go.
So two more episodes this season.
For this season.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
See, and that's the other thing. Even though it's 12 episodes, everything else is usually like 8 or 10.
Yeah. I
don't feel like anything has been filler this season.
I need 30 episodes, seriously.
Yeah, I don't feel like anything has been filler, and I'm like, only 2 more episodes. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna be really bummed out when this is over for a while. But they started filming the second season already, so.
Yeah.
Or they're starting the week of I think the week of Thanksgiving they're starting. So,
oh, that's right. Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to the second season. I'm even more bummed now that it's only going to be 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be grateful that we get that, and I'm sure I'll be rewatching this a lot.
Yeah, I really think there's a lot of. I mean, I'm not a big fan of award shows, but I really think that people should be getting awards for this show if they're going to get.
Absolutely.
I mean, Skarsgård and Andy Serkis and Diego Luna should all be, and Jennifer Riley. Everybody basically is awards worthy performances. It's just and kudos to the casting department too. By the way, well, great job.
Absolutely. Yep.
Even like Olaf and people like minor characters. Olaf's had quite a career. That actor's had quite a career. He was in the original Tim Burton Batman.
You're right. Yes.
So I'm just saying.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway, he's been around for a long time, but good for all because he's an English actor, and that was filmed in England. So
exactly.
Anyway.
So if you're not watching Andor, now's the time to catch up going into the season finale, 2-parter, I'm sure.
You need to watch the show.
Yeah, you should be watching the show if you like not only sci-fi and Star Wars, but if you like just really well-made things, you should be watching this.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't understand the people that are not watching. I know it's too many. I'm surprised because there's many like even nerdy sites that are like, oh, it's a bomb. I'm like, it's not a what? What is wrong with
You
you?
know, I've realized that it's not what's in their, it's
Yeah,
not what they want. It's not when it's in their head canon, so they're just not going to like it.
give me the Star Wars that I want.
Yeah, this isn't what they want. So you can watch the other Star Wars. It's fine. This
Yeah,
is just different, and a lot of those people are
yeah,
probably younger than you and I too. So
that could be. Yeah, maybe.
anyway, but the most important thing is Chris Evans has a new girlfriend. Oh, sorry, that's not that important. Anyway,
Well, that okay.
good for him.
Sure.
What else? What else we're going to talk about? Oh, we're going to talk about Enola Holmes 2, which is awesome.
Yes,
I love that.
Yes.
She's Millie Bobby Brown, so charming. Henry Cavill, also terrific. Everybody, it's a really good mystery, and it's really good. And it's like based on a true story, which I didn't realize. Based on
Yes. Yes, it is.
it is. Yeah, it's there was actually matchstick girls who were having this.
Part of it is true.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what it says.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she's just terrific. Millie Bobby Brown is just charming as hell. It exudes. It just comes off the screen. She's gonna already having a great career, but she's gonna like be huge.
Oh yeah.
And her and Henry Cavill
Yeah.
have a really good rapport and really good chemistry.
You believe that they're brother and sister.
You absolutely
really
do.
watching this.
Yeah, you absolutely
It's like,
do.
Wow.
He's-
so well done.
And the nice thing about him too is he can play. He seems like a very generous kind of actor where he lets her have like, the bigger meteor stuff,
Yeah.
and he's content to play like the supporting because he's kind of a supporting character in the show, really. And he's just he seems like a very nice guy.
Yes, he does. No, it's a well done movie. I like it probably more than I liked the first one, and I really was enthusiastic about the first Enola Holmes movie. And I hope they continue with a few more of these films. But yeah, Millie, especially the asides that she does to the audience, breaking the fourth wall, is just great. I don't know. It's just there. You're right. There's something about her. She's just fantastic. And
Yeah, I mean, she's very charming and she's very believable in this part. And but yeah, the breaking the fourth wall thing is great. And her and Tewksbury have really good scenes too. But I got to say though, her and Helena Bonham Carter is just fantastic in this. And David Thewlis too, very very menacing, very very evil guy.
Yes.
And it's 2 hours and 9 minutes, which it didn't seem long to me. It seemed like
Did
it was,
not seem
it
like
moved
that at
along
all.
nicely. But I kind of think there wouldn't have been an Enola Holmes without the Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. because they kind of do. It kind of feels similar to that to me, except for breaking the fourth wall
a little bit.
But it's like the same kind of aesthetic a little bit. But I like it a lot, and it's really worth watching. And she actually mentions Mycroft in this, so I wonder if Mycroft is going to show up. But of course, the best thing to me, not the best thing, but one of the greatest things is the end, right?
Yes.
where you meet his new roomie.
Well, the reveal of his new roomie, which she totally set up, which is great.
Yeah.
And also the reveal of Moriarty, I thought was pretty amazing.
Yeah,
too.
I don't know. I've never read the book, so I don't know if that's the way it is in the book that Moriarty is, because not in the original Sherlock Holmes, Moriarty's not a I don't want to spoil it, but he's not a woman.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Right.
But yeah, it was really well done, and I think that he is, this show is just going a long way to make these characters reinvent it kind of a little bit for a newer generation for the kids.
Yeah.
And enjoying the idea of a younger. Maybe not as I don't know because they always say that Mycroft was the smarter Holmes, I guess, but I don't know.
Right.
But I'm just happy that the actor who's playing Dr. Watson, I love this guy, Himish Patel. He's fucking terrific. Actor.
I'm like that is
In one of my
beautiful casting.
in
right
one of
there.
my favorite shows of last year, Station 11. If you've never seen Station 11 on HBO, that is an amazing series that I cannot recommend high enough. He is excellent in it. It is just so. It was one of my picks one time, I'm sure, but it's a terrific show, and you should definitely watch it. Everybody should. But yeah,
It's interesting because this movie seems to set up more Enola Holmes movies, but also like the genesis of the Sherlock Holmes that we know, Holmes and Watson.
Yeah.
So it seemed to set that up as well. So they could go any way they wanted to. They could make a Sherlock Holmes movie with Cavill. They can do a Enola Holmes movie. They can have a combo. I'm sure they'll both be in each other's movies or however they want to do it. I think that would be great.
well, there's quite.
I will watch it.
I don't know how many books there are, but I imagine there's a few books, right? So
There's a few, not as many I think as people think there are. Well, there's like some books, but there's also a lot of stories that were published in magazines and stuff like that. And I think maybe eventually collected into books and stuff. I don't know. It's confusing, but
there's like 8 books, dude.
Yeah. So there's a few.
I'm just saying that's a lot.
Sherlock Holmes
That's a lot of
stories.
stories. I'm not talking about Sherlock Holmes. I'm talking about Enola Holmes.
Oh, Enola.
There's quite a few Enola Holmes books. Every interview I've seen with Millie Bobby Brown is like, yeah, I'd love to keep making these, and I'm sure Netflix will keep making them. They want to stay in the Millie Bobby Brown business.
Yeah, so both of them have been very well received and are doing well with critics and audiences. So why not?
Exactly. I would totally watch more of these. They're really good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they'll make at least one more. But you're right. They could actually do a very serviceable. They could spin off to do Sherlock Holmes movies with Henry Cavill and Himesh Patel. I would watch that too.
Absolutely.
Although I did really like the recently the one they did, the Sherlock show with Benedict Cumberbatch. That was really well done, I thought.
That was really good. I liked, in fact, I also liked Elementary, that went for 7 seasons with Johnny Lee Miller playing a modern day Sherlock Holmes who is an addict, which was really well done.
Yeah.
And Lucy Liu as Dr. Watson. So that I loved a lot. I thought that was a fantastic show. I guess Sherlock Holmes is one of those. It's like if there's a movie or TV version, I'm going to watch it because I just like
it's an interesting character.
Yeah. So yeah.
Anyway, so if you aren't watching it, you should definitely watch it. I mean, that was going to be originally going to be our pick this week or mine, but then I realized that you were talking about how you also was going to pick it. You was going to pick it too.
You was going to pick it, sir.
Hello.
That was terrible.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Pip pip. So we'll just do different picks, I guess, or you can pick it and I can pick something else. But
I have a backup pick that I'll pick.
Pick a pickle picks.
Yes, it's a documentary TV series called Light and Magic, and it's all about the formation of industrial light and magic, their formative years, and how they got to be the special effects juggernaut that they are today.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a fascinating watch. I mean, it's interesting because a lot of it, the Star Wars franchise has never been shy about showing you behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
And even as a kid, I was like, I would devour anything that was like, here's how this is made. I didn't care if it spoiled like the magic and took away from the fiction, because even as a kid, I was like, no, I know that's made up, but I want to know how the hell did they do that. And so I've devoured that stuff. So a lot of the things are not new, especially the formation, but it gets really into the detail and actually talks to, John Dykstra and all those guys from back then. Mm-hmm. And hearing them talk about it is, I would sit in a room. I would, if this was like 50 episodes, I would totally watch that. If it's just fascinating to see how these things started, because nothing like this, nowadays there's all kinds of special effects houses, and special effects in movies are, a key thing, obviously, especially in sci-fi movies, and hearing about, James Cameron invented this and moved the needle on special effects. ILM did, they're creating this new thing. But back then, when they started, there was nothing like that. Nothing at all. There were no special effects houses. There was nobody that did that. And they invented everything. And just seeing actual footage of them doing this and hearing them talk about it and how they solved things was just amazing. And it reminded me a little bit of, it seems unrelated, but the From Earth to the Moon, the miniseries that Tom Hanks did for HBO about the Apollo program.
Sure.
And that starts out with, Kennedy's proclamation that we're going to go to the moon by the end of the 60s. And it cuts to this room at NASA where all these NASA guys are sitting there, and they're so defeated because they're like, there's no way we can do this. And it goes from them griping about, we can't do this, it's impossible, to does this slow pivot of, so how would we do that? Well, let's start at the beginning. How do we get something off the ground to go there? Well, we'd have to do this. Who do we know that does this? This guy or IBM. Okay, but they haven't invented that yet. That's fine. We'll talk to them. We'll get it, And that, to me, equated to how they did Industrial Light and Magic. They're like, George wants these shots. Here's what the movie needs. There's nothing that exists to do that. Okay, well then how do we do it? Right. And I just love that ingenuity, even though it's something that people would consider silly as special effects. It's still gone on to affect, and technologies that they created and used gone on to be used for so many other things. Much like when NASA created the Apollo program, a lot of the technologies that they created,
that was just fake, though, right?
People benefited from. Yes, exactly. That was Kubrick going, well, let's think of something plausible.
Right. Exactly.
But it's amazing, and there are some things that ILM has come up with that have benefited the rest of the world and things like that. So it's just that kind of ingenuity for filmmaking, and then seeing the final product. It's like, wow. And even the original Star Wars from 1977 still holds up to me as far as looking fantastic. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and they basically, invented a lot of it with string and tape. It's like, geez, this is
right.
Great.
It was all
took apart all these cameras and put them back together again.
Yeah.
And figured out, so how would we do this? It's just, I don't know. I get excited about stuff like that because it's always been something I've been interested in, and seeing, again, a recounting in detail of how they did this is pretty amazing. So I recommend it to anyone who's not only a Star Wars fan, but interested at all in filmmaking and how things get done, even casually, even if you're not like, oh, I want to learn how to make my own movies. Even if you're just like, I'm a fan of how movies are put together, this is worth watching and seeing. So there you go.
No, it's amazing.
Light magic.
Yeah, it's really amazing how they really just didn't have any idea what to do for most of it. It's like, how are we going to do this? And they just basically invented the shit as they were going along. It was just that impressive. I mean, I was really,
That's the same thing that fuels James Cameron. He's like, here's the thing I want to do with Avatar, for example.
Yeah.
Even when they were making the first Avatar movie, he had to have a team and people to invent technology and cameras to allow him to do that.
Right, exactly.
And so it's great. It's not even one-upmanship. It's like, well, this is great. We'll use ILM for this, but I want to be able to do this. How do we do it? And seeing that spirit of invention and filmmaking from a film buff is pretty amazing. So
yeah. It's just fascinating to me how any of it happens and how any of it even came together at all, right? It's just
yeah.
So
like
so much.
You need to get these
so much talent.
You need to get these guys together to solve the world's problems. You don't need the experts. Pick the street level guys. It's like, hey, so how would you solve this? How would it get done? Right?
Exactly. All right, so that's cool, man. My pick this week is something we already talked about, which is Enola Holmes 2. I had a different pick, but I forgot to write down the name of it, so I can talk about it next week. But it was pretty cool. I know that.
Do your homework, man.
I didn't do my homework. Yeah, I didn't. The dog ate my homework, but no.
Oh, look, there you go.
But my pick this week is Enola Holmes 2, which I think you would agree. I would feel like it's almost a better movie than the first Enola Holmes movie. I think they finally.
Yeah.
Not that the first one was bad; it was really good. But I think they've upped the game on this one, and the game was afoot for sure. Everybody was doing a great job. It's really well directed. There's good drama, good sort of scary bits. Not scary, but good dramatic elements. And again, I like the fact that it ties in with sort of a realistic story or a partially a historical story. But you really can't go wrong with Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill in anything, frankly. I'm not saying they should do a movie where they're like dating or something, but they should definitely do every movie where they should be brother and sister because they're terrific as that in this one.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, it's really good. And if you haven't watched the first one, you should definitely watch it. And if you haven't watched this one, you should definitely watch it. And maybe read the books if you're into reading books, because I'm sure that
if you're into the readings,
yes. Then I would recommend the books too. But if you want, just watch the movies. That's fine too. So.
Definitely, I hope they make more.
I think they will. I mean, they're already talking about more, so I'm sure they will.
This is true.
Because why not? There's so much material. Why not use it? Right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So anyway, find the Flickcast on all the podcast outlet areas, Good Pods, Apple, Spotify, etc., etc. Find Joe and I on the usual socials, but also now on Mastodon.
Yes, now on Mastodon.
Now on Mastodon. The Flickcast is also on Mastodon at TheFlickcast, and Joe is at What Joe Writes. I'm at Chris U, because, we don't want to make it too hard. And then, although I think...
Gotta have that branding.
Gotta have that branding, yeah. Although I think that if you're going to go to Mastodon, it's like Chris U at mastodon.social. I think you have to do more, the whole thing, and not just the at Chris U part. But anyway.
That's not true. I searched for you and found you just by...
Well, because you're on the same server that I am.
Oh, that's right.
Maybe that's why. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Okay. But you can, if you want to find us, we're on there. It's a nice little community. No one's being dicks yet, although...
Yeah, please say hello. We'll follow you.
Please say hello. Yeah, it'll be great. We'll have some good interaction. Otherwise, feel free to rate or review the show. We appreciate that. And if you want to, interact with us on the usual places, that's fine. Give us your comments. We don't mind, especially if they're positive comments, but negative comments are fine too. That's fine. I can handle it. I've been on the internet for years. I have a thick skin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, one of my other first tweets, apparently since back in the day, was reading comments on articles is fun. Because I think if I remember correctly, I think I was writing for Unofficial Apple Weblog and Download Squad and Engadget and stuff back then. So it's like people were rude. People were rude even then, online.
Don't read the comments.
And it's gotten worse since then.
Yes.
Plenty of trolls. Although, some people actually had reasoned, if I remember correctly, some people actually had interesting reasoned comments. They weren't just like, you're an asshole for believing this and, everything you like sucks. And
right. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like commenting has gotten a lot worse over the years, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
That's an understatement, yeah. People are just mean. Some people. But not our audience. We love you guys.
So mean.
So mean.
Yeah, all four of you are fantastic.
It's probably like 5. Yeah, all 5 of you are our favorite people.
Yes.
So thank you. Anyway, anything else, Joe?
I think that's probably it.
All right, cool. So for Joe Dilworth, I am Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks so much for listening.